So we're going to discuss why electric trucks will never be off-road capable. Even in the future, it's just not capable because of these four rules. So we're going to talk about the four rules that make an off-road truck more capable or less capable. So the first one is flex. So how much wheel travel you have on your wheels. And, off-road trucks, they need a lot of wheel travel so they can get that wheel on the ground. And now don't get me wrong, electric truck could have better wheel travel, but they don't do it. But you're right, it's something that they could fix. Now, another thing is, if you're looking at these electric trucks right now, the breakover angle. They don't have great breakover angles. Of course, they're big trucks, and it's something that, true, they could fix this in the future, but as of right now, electric trucks don't have breakover angle. Now, if you look at vehicles like the Gladiator and the Toyota Tacoma, the third generation Tacoma, not the fourth, then you'll see that it's like 10 more inches shorter wheelbase the Toyota Tacoma has. And this 10 inches of shorter wheelbase gives you a great breakover angle. So that's why the Tacoma does really good, off-roading because of that breakover angle. There's a couple other things too, but that's one of the big reasons why. Now, tire size and weight of the vehicle. These kind of go hand in hand. And this is the biggest problem with electric vehicles, electric trucks, even electric SUVs. The problem is these things weigh a ton. And if you look at, for example, me, I weigh 280 pounds almost. And if you put my weight on a hill with a little tiny, tiny platform shoe to hold me up, I'm going to slide down the hill. But the bigger shoe I got, I'm going to be able to hold and grasp where I'm at, really, really good. And the heavier I get, the bigger that shoe needs to be. So if you're looking at, like a Toyota Tacoma, it weighs like 4,400 pounds. And if you're looking at, the F-150 Lightning, and I know this is a bigger truck, but it weighs 7,000 to 7,500 pounds. And that's like 35-40% larger in size, which means if you have a heavier truck, you have to have 35 to 40% larger tires. So, for example, a 32-inch tire on a Tacoma. If you increase that by 40%, you're talking a 45-inch tire. So roughly you would need a 45-inch tire on a F-150 Lightning to be competitive, for the grip to go up a hill for the weight. So that's why it's really not going to happen for, these trucks. And the more and more batteries you put into these things, the heavier they're going to get. And it's just not going to happen. You can't, store power without having the weight, to be behind it. So that's the main reason why. And the thing is, like, even flex, you can't put a 45-inch tire on a, F-150 Lightning because, for one, you'd have to cut giant holes in the wheel wells and the bed. And another thing, 45-inch tires, the drivetrain wouldn't hold up to it. So you'd have to have different gearing. So there's a lot of things you'd have to beef up, tons and tons of cost to make a 45-inch. And that's only giving you the same capability as the Tacoma would have, with a 32-inch tire. So that's why it's having a lot of problem, with the off-roading. Now, don't get me wrong. Electric trucks, even though they advertise off-road capability, they're not off-road capable vehicles. Here's a good example of it. If you look at they have two motors. They have one in the front, one in the rear, and they have a locker, mechanical locker sometimes in the rear. So that means you have two tires in the rear that are going to lock and one tire drive in the front. Now you're thinking, well, that's what the Tacoma has. And you'd be a little bit off on that because the Tacoma also locks the front and rear together. So that means that when the rear is pulling, the front can pull equally. So it can kind of like two hands. If you have two hands grabbing on the ground, equal pulling down, you get good traction. But if you have one hand pulling down, the other one pulling a little quicker, you lose all the traction in both your hands. So that's the problem with electric, is they don't have something to connect the two motors in the middle. And it's a part that it's just going to lose traction because of that. They could fix that, but I don't see them ever doing that. I don't see them fixing that issue, because what I'm seeing is these vehicles are not off-road capable, and they're not going to design them off-road capable. Here's a great example of it. The fourth generation Tacoma, I don't think that they really care much about off-roading. They want to make a picture, a sales pitch of this, fourth generation Tacoma off-roading, but in reality, it's not going to be that great. The wheel travel is never going to be as good because of the width of those trucks. They have a Tundra frame under it, which is a wider frame, and I know they narrow it a little bit, but it's never going to be an off-road vehicle. And I think the reason why Tacoma is doing this is for, of course, rideability. It's going to have a better ride, and they are going to steer this towards the electrification world later on. So they got a good platform for electrifying later on. And it may even be like the Ram Charger, where they have an engine generator with electric batteries and electric motors. In my opinion, that's the best electrification of a truck, because you get a generator slash battery power, best of both worlds. So that's my opinion on it anyway. But that's what I think is going on with Tacoma. I think they know that it's going to happen, and it's not going to happen right now. It's going to be like 30 years down the road when, all of these Tacomas and trucks are going to be partially electrified, gas and electric combo. So it's going to be a while where, this happens. And when this actually happens, I think that the off-road enthusiast of the truck world is going to be gone. I think that, unless you buy a used one, you're not going to have an off-road truck anymore. Now, I do think that the side-by-sides are going to kind of take up the slack of this. So you'll be able to buy a side-by-side with air conditioning, heating, because, that's what we want. At least me, I'm getting a little older. I want some AC and I want some heat on my vehicle when I'm just kind of chilling around. You also want the back seat so you can have your family with you. And I think that's what's going to happen is, 30 years from now, the side-by-sides are going to kind of take over the entire off-road industry. And you're going to have, Tacomas, you're going to have the Ram Charger, and these vehicles are going to be with a generator and some battery packs and 2 electric motors. And some of them even have 1 electric motor. They haven't done that yet, but they're going to do it, I think, because, it's cost savings. You can make a lower model one. So that's my, information on this. It's what's going to happen, because you can kind of see the writing on the wall. Tacoma even did the same thing. Now, Tacoma's always going to, say they're the best, off-road vehicle for sales. And I am a Tacoma guy. I own a Tacoma, but that's all they're really doing with the 4th generation Tacoma. It's only about sales. It's not really about the off-road capability of that truck anymore. And, maybe it's going to work for them. I don't know. But me personally, I'm glad I bought a 3rd generation, because that one has the correct wheel width, a lot of the features that I need for, hauling the family around, being able to haul an RV and still go off-roading and have a ton of fun. So that's my 2 cents on all this. And if you like what we're talking about, please subscribe, because you all make it happen.